For whatever phase I'm in my career now, I think I think two things are at play. One, I'm like relatively young, and two, I'm on a personality level, I'm not susceptible as much to the whole like fear of following up to something, or even if it's your own work, you know, like Elysium not living up to the what District 9 was. That it doesn't affect me in the same way that I think it affects a lot of other artists. Like, I'm willing to take big swings all the time until people won't give me money. It doesn't affect me like that. So my thing with Alien is like, I don't sit up at night being like, oh my God, I wonder if I'm going to be able to, you know, follow in these great films' footsteps. It's more like, I'm a fan of Alien. I'm a fan of Aliens, and Alien 3 onwards went in a direction I didn't want. So like, I just get the chance to try to tell my version of how I think it should have happened. It's just like pure excitement, you know.
But it's interesting. Last time I spoke to you was around the time of Elysium, and I asked you about Star Wars, and you said you didn't have any interest in making a Star Wars movie because you had too many original stories you want to tell.
Still true, yeah.
So is this come? I mean, obviously, Alien is a long-standing franchise. Is it just because you had a great idea that you came up with that you pursued them, or? Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely, you know, I pursued them to the point that Fox didn't even know I was working on it. So. You know, that's, I mean, that in itself is just unique. Like, you should always be working on something that the studio doesn't even know you're doing, and that way you're like, I want to do that by the time it's done, and then they can decide. You know?
Yeah.
I think when you get hired to do something, you're in dangerous territory. But so the truth about, you know, projects that are my own, like the thing that's annoying about films is they take 3 years to make. It's a constant thing that I face all the time, which is like, whatever you commit to, you're going to be out of the game with everything else, and you're going to be doing this one thing for that amount of time. So that's a very true thing. I mean, you know, that would still be my answer with almost everything. It's just that Alien isn't almost everything. Alien is like the one thing that's just. I actually think it's the first science fiction film I ever saw.
Right.
And it's my first memory of like film. And so it's just emblazoned into my head in a way that it would be a shame for me to not do it for myself. You know, I'll even if it doesn't live up to what people want, like for my own self, like, sure. I need to at least try.
So was it that it was your first memory as a film? Is that what drew you to the project and made you so passionate about it?
Just to the world, you mean, of the first and second one?
Yeah.
I think that I think the combination of what Ridley did and the usage of Giger's Freudian sexual terror imagery, and the setup of the first film, and then what Cameron did with the second film, like what just the perfect storm of what those ingredients were, and for my own like visual style and what I like, and it just was this weird, perfect unity of everything, you know. And I think that's really what it is. It's just I can't think of anything that comes close to it in terms of an existing franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, my other favorite character, like, I don't want to participate in this world, is Batman.
Yeah. And
I think like the Chris Nolan Batman films are incredible. Yeah. You know, like for me, for my own aesthetic and taste, I think they're amazing.
Yeah.
And that's a separate thing. It's kind of character driven, but Alien is a unique thing for me. It's a unique storm of perfect ingredients.
Was this the first film that got greenlit via Instagram?
I don't know. It's an interesting question. Maybe. That's a very interesting question.
But you put that concept art out there.
Well, I think, you know, the thing that I find that it kind of ties in a little bit with what you were saying about living up to people's expectations and are you nervous? And like this is a little bit of the same discussion where I think that people think I was like playing some kind of game with the studio where I was like releasing stuff to try to create hype to try to go back to them, and like I'm totally not Machiavellian in that way at all. Like, I'm just not. And the debate was an internal debate, actually. It was a debate where I don't think I'm a movie director. I think I'm an artist, and I think movies are probably like, for me, they're the pinnacle art form. But the pinnacle art form requires like tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars of other people's money that needs to return an investment for them on the cash. And that means that there are certain things that come with that limit you as an artist, right? So you can have full control on a film. Like, Chappie is about as close to having, virtual carte blanche in a film as you can have, less the fact that it's 2 hours and it has 3 acts. And there's a list, right? So it's like, if you want to just create something that's a piece of art that just really like winds people up, you know, something hyper offensive or crazy or whatever it might be, it's the wrong thing for you. So I have that internal debate sometimes where I'm like, I'm just wondering if this is the right avenue for me. And that's what Alien was, where I was like, maybe I should just go off for a couple of years and do some other stuff. And I had all of this accumulated work of a project I thought was really awesome. So I was like, I know there's going to be some fans out there that like this. Here you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened. And so it's nothing is premeditated. And then after, I still hadn't picked a project. 2014 was really weird for me. I loved Chappie, and I loved working in post on Chappie, working with Zimmer, cutting it together, working on VFX. It was very relaxing. It was kind of awesome. But I didn't know what I was going to do next. And I came up with so many ideas. I came up with like many films. And I just couldn't like choose one. And my apprehension with Alien was that I had never worked with someone else's material, and especially not even someone else. At this point, it was like, I'm going to count Fincher in with the third one, even though the third one I don't like as much as the first two. It's still three awesome filmmakers. So it's not about living up to it and being nervous about it. It's like, I just don't want other people to tell me what to do, which is a different thing. Yeah. Well, we think in this film this should happen because it happened in that one. That kind of scared me a little bit. So then I was like, I'm just not going to do it. I'll put it out.
Yeah.
But then, I spoke to Sigourney, and like she was. I love Sigourney and her wanting to execute the story that I wrote, and she thinks it's the right story for Ripley. That I was like, nah, I'm fully going to do this. And also, like, my place looks like this with all this stuff everywhere. Yeah. So Terry actually was drinking a glass in the morning when I was like leaving to go edit Chappie recently. And it's the life cycle of the xenomorph, like on the glass.
Right.
And she was looking at it, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And she was like, is there something wrong with your brain? She's like, I'm drinking out of a glass that has a frickin' face hugger on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you want to do next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, our house is covered in xenomorphs.
Yeah.
So I was like, you have a point.
Yeah. Feels like a good opportunity.
Yeah.
So, where does this fit in? Is this film going to shoot when Prometheus sequel shoots, and are these going to be running side by side?
I don't think they'll be running exactly side by side, but I don't want to get into it too much. Though.
Yeah.
Like, I will try to keep some cards close to my chest. Yeah. But it's Ridley is producing it, which is amazing too, because he's like one of my favorite filmmakers. So, yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah, it's cool that Ridley Scott's involved as well.
So cool.
We were going to ask about the game Alien Isolation as well, if you've played that.
I have played that.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that game?
I think it's amazing. I mean, even from the first screen grabs, just the quality of the art direction and how like, I'm such a visual person that the narrative of stuff is like neither here nor there for me. Like, sometimes it's literally about imagery.
Yeah.
And when I saw the images, I was like, shit, it can't be that good. And then I played it, and it was like, to me, it was that good. Like,
It's so well done compared to the original movie with
it's
the
so
soundtrack
good.
and everything.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, Yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting because it raises an interesting design question for me, which is that when Alien was made, it was cutting edge.
Yeah.
Mother was cutting edge, and a green CRT monochromatic monitor was cutting edge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like Aliens, the director's cut with Reel 2 reinserted when you're on the colony planet, and it's like he's getting printouts with like dot matrix paper with like holes down the side. That shit was real, man.
Yeah.
On the planet, in that future, that was cutting edge.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting debate if you look at it from my standpoint, which is like, do I make my cutting edge? Is it cutting edge, or is it actually closer to the first two?
Yeah.
Because I want it to be like, it has the same parent. It's a genetic offspring of the first two movies.
Yeah.
And Alien Isolation actually made me kind of question that a lot, because they got it so perfect with all of the late 70s, early 80s like tech.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, that's it, because you're not actually exploring the Nostromo, but it feels like you are. Or at least it exists in the same
Same
universe.
world. Yeah, it's all about the same world.
Yeah.
Aliens was my favorite film. It's not even a choice between the two. Aliens was my favorite film ever made. But I just saw Alien, which was a close second. I just saw Alien in a like a theatrical projection in Vancouver, which I've never seen before. It's only ever been on, I was born the year it came out in theaters.
Right.
And seeing it in a theater, it may have jumped ahead because it's just that good. But yeah, it's a really tough one.